What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Files, where we talk about our favorite fantasy series and topics. I tried to record this last night, but I actually was just so tired, and I kind of was like almost falling asleep during it, and so I don't think that would have been great content. Today I have a really quick review for Paladin Unbound by Jeff Speight. And a big thank you to him for providing us with audiobook review codes for this.
A really big thank you.
I think I originally entered a giveaway for these codes, but I didn't end up winning. But then Jeff got a hold of me later and he was like, hey, I think I have some review codes if you guys want them. So that was really cool because I had seen all the hype for this book last year. And I never really got to read it because it was only in physical copy at the time. And as most of you guys know, with my super busy schedule, I can almost never read physical copy books. They take me a really long time because I can only read for like an hour or two at night. But audiobooks I can listen to all day at work. So I was kind of hyped because I finally got to read this book and finally got to see what all the love was about. Before we get into it, though, we'd appreciate it if you would hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. It helps out our channel a ton and lets us know that more people are interested in getting more and more content from us. You can also follow us on Twitter at Files Fantasy to join our cool little community over there. Be sure to check out our new channel trailer titled Welcome to the Fantasy Files. It does a really great job of breaking down kind of what we do on this channel and what all of our different kind of videos are, because we have a bunch of like different series going on now. There's just some really great info in there, as well as what I think might be part of our new intro. It's a really cool piece of editing. I just have to find a way to work it in with what we currently have. After this video, we'll upload our podcast episode on the first two books in the Land series, and then we will finally be continuing our journey through the Dresden Files reread, which will cover the book Proven Guilty. I'm really looking forward to that one. That's like my favorite Dresden Files book. So be sure to stay tuned in and hit that bell notification down there so that you can see it as soon as it posts on our channel. Well, with all that out of the way, let's go through a brief spoiler-free summary on what this book is about. So in this book, a dark god is being summoned in the land of Evelium, and it's up to the last remaining paladin to set things right. Umra is a half-orc, half-human paladin who has to hide his true nature because the land is ruled by those who see paladins as pagans and heretics. Once upon a time in the land of Evelium, paladins were revered by all, but that has changed with this new monarchy that has come into power. Our hero travels with a band of mercenaries who take up jobs for various nobles and such to earn some extra coin. But early on in the book, something goes terribly wrong, and Umra realizes that he has to unleash his holy side to rid Evelium of the darkness that is consuming it. With the help of a few new friends, he sets off across the land to fulfill his destiny, to honor his allies, and to protect Evelium from utter destruction. And that is the basic premise of the book. If I go into too much more, I'm afraid that I'll get into spoilers. I'm even a little bit worried that I've given too much away already, but I think we're good. So that's basically what's going on in this book. So as you guys know on this channel, for our reviews and podcast episodes and stuff, we cover both the pros and cons of every book, no matter how much we liked it. And so that's just to provide both sides of the coin so that people can kind of see, things that they might like, things that they might not like. and to give them a better opportunity to kind of judge on whether they're going to like a book or not. But let's start with the good things. I think overall, this book is really fun. I enjoyed it the same way that I would enjoy like the Rhyria books or maybe the Dragonlance books. It's just really like fantasy ass fantasy, and it's a really quick and light read that is truly like pure entertainment. It's just nonstop quest driven fantasy. It's very, very fast paced. There's almost no fat on the bones. You're at no point was I ever bored or waiting for it to kind of move on. It never really got bogged down in descriptions or info dumps. Even if there were scenes that like aren't particularly exciting or scenes that I wasn't like enthralled with, occasionally they were never boring. It was always moving at a super fast clip, and it just gets you right through the story in a really fun way. It reminded me a lot of World of Warcraft or Dungeons and Dragons. Even though I haven't played D&D, I get very much this vibe from it. I would guess that Jeff has probably played World of Warcraft or D&D. There's just so much there. Every single character kind of has this classification, the grid, like chaotic good or lawful good, chaotic evil to lawful evil, and everything in between. And I think these characters really kind of exhibited that, and that was really, really cool to see. Also, just like things like an orc paladin, like it just totally reminds me of World of Warcraft, and so it brought a lot of those vibes with it, and I was really enjoying that part of it. The fight scenes were probably my favorite part of the book. There was a lot of really, really cool fight scenes. They all felt super unique, and at no point did it feel like we were getting the same fight over and over. And there was tons of spells and magic and paladin powers that really accentuated every single fight. And it made them very visual. I feel like I was able to visualize every fight really well. And they were just a lot of fun. So while maybe on not as deep a level as I would have liked, I did come to really enjoy the characters and group as a whole. They were all charming, and you can tell this group has traveled together for a long, long time. And I just love the way that they instantly bring in Umra into their fold and kind of treat him as one of their own, and just the way that this group kind of operated together and quickly became best friends was just fantastic. And I really, really liked that dynamic. I don't have too much to say on this, but I really liked Umra's backstory. Just the fact that he is taken in by this human priest and taught how to be a paladin. I just found it kind of interesting because he's already a little bit of an outcast in this, mostly human society, being an orc or being half orc. But then being a paladin on top of it, and the monarchy in the land hating the paladins because they don't conform to their religious ideologies. And I just loved how he kind of just has to live with that and learns to carry that throughout his life. So like I said, this book is fantasy ass fantasy, and I felt like the world was very vivid. It had all of these different very fantasy monsters and fantasy races, and it just felt like a really great time in the world. While probably not super defined, for some reason I just kind of get like this colorful fantasy vibe from it, and I really like that. We get to see a lot of cool paladin powers, and I hope that this isn't giving too much away. I don't think it is, but he has this thing called an icon, and when he calls on the power of it, he gets like this. I kind of envisioned it as like a Iron Man type armor, goes chunk 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 chunk, and it just kind of comes up and covers his whole body. just kind of this cool magical armor. And so I really enjoyed any time that would happen. He also has a very cool sword, and I think it would be a little too spoilery if I went into what exactly the sword does. But the sword is very cool, and I very much enjoyed all the scenes where we're kind of exploring what it can do. We also get a lot of cool mage abilities. There's some one of the things that made me think of World of Warcraft is there's some polymorph, there's some shape shifting, and yeah, I really enjoyed all the stuff with the mage in the party. We also get a the classic archetype of a cleric, which is something that I have not seen in a lot of fantasy, like the classic, priest healing people kind of party member. And so I really enjoyed that aspect as well. Shadow was probably my favorite character overall. He is a sneaky rogue type character, kind of a thief. I wish we had gotten a little bit more of him and his backstory, but I really, really enjoyed what we got of him. So here's some of the cons for this review. I think that the book probably could have used one or two more revisions, maybe with taking away some of the side quest stuff that didn't advance the main plot too much. There was kind of these random moments where something would distract them from the main quest, and that's fine. Lots of books do that, but I don't feel like it was. I feel like it should have been used to further character development or like the main narrative development. But they often kind of seemed a little bit random. And so I would have loved for those to maybe be pulled back a little bit and then put in some more word count of character development and overall kind of plot depth, I guess. And kind of going along with that, I mentioned that I really liked the pacing in this book, and I did, but I think that sometimes it's moving so quickly that the characters don't really get a chance to kind of breathe in between each encounter and, have like campfire discussions and stuff where we really get some more depth to those characters and we get a little bit more backstory on all of them. And maybe this is something that the second book will totally take care of, but that's just something I noticed in this book. Something that probably says a lot more about me than it does this book, because usually I read like darker fantasy, grim dark, extremely like morally gray protagonists, and this book is anything but morally gray besides Shadow. And maybe that's why I like Shadow so much. But I felt like not just in the main party, although that is where you see it the most. Everyone in this world was extremely kind to each other. There was hardly any conflict within the group or with the world at large as they're kind of going on this quest. Everybody just kind of gets out of their way and, thanks them for doing what they're doing, and they kind of go on their way. And I think this, I wonder if I had read the physical copy, if I would have felt this way though, because I think what it was, and don't get me wrong, the narrator really did do a good job with this book. I thought that his narrating voice and the different voices he used for each characters were varied. But I think that in almost every sentence, even when one character is like kind of yelling at another one, they all sounded very cheerful and happy. And so I got this feeling throughout the whole book that all the characters are just super, super happy with each other and absolutely nothing is wrong. And everybody's just being really, really kind to each other. which is, simply something I'm not used to in fantasy. So it definitely just could be a super subjective me thing, but that's definitely something that I noticed throughout the book, and that was probably my biggest complaint, honestly. Even when Umra and his group have kind of this deadly prank pulled on them that almost wipes out their entire team, at the end of it, everybody just kind of like shakes hands and shrugs it off with no real consequences. Like nobody really got that upset about it. And it could have been something with like disastrous consequences. And so I was kind of like, I think that we could have used a little bit more conflict there, a little bit more conflict in some other areas where, characters were just being super cool to each other, and everyone was real nice to each other. And lastly, I think there was kind of an inconsistency with at the beginning and actually throughout pretty much the whole book. We're told that Umra or paladins in general are hated by the monarchy. They're hated by, like, they're feared by people. Like, people don't like paladins because this new monarchy has come in some time ago, and they believe that paladins serve these old gods who are no longer part of the current religion, and so they see them as heretics and pagans. And so I was kind of expecting in this book to get a lot of conflict with people coming in contact with Umra, and if they find out he's a paladin, it's going to be like a big deal, and there's going to be some major conflict there. But I feel like every time somebody found out Umra was a paladin, they were actually like pretty cool about it. And I think even a couple people were like, "Oh, thank God you're here." And so I was just kind of like, okay, I kept waiting for that big conflict with the monarchy and the paladin, or whoever and the paladin, just finding out what he is, because that was supposed to be a tightly held secret. There was one moment where there was a little bit of conflict about it, but it was a really short scene, and everybody else was pretty cool about it. So we'll see if that gets kind of fixed in the next book. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what the next book has in store and how this author grows in his writing. I would say overall, if you're a fan of D&D or kind of light fantasy that you can pick up on a whim and cruise through in a couple days, you should definitely pick this up. It's a super quick read. And honestly, I had a lot of fun with it. It's a really fun story that works great in between heavier or darker fantasy books. It's definitely a good palate cleanser to kind of balance you out in between some of the big door stopper fantasies and whatnot. Again, big thanks to Jeff for the review copy. And like I said, I look forward to seeing what he has in store for the next book. Thank you everyone for watching. And if you don't mind, just hit those like and subscribe buttons on your way out.
Just do it. It's not like a big deal or anything.
It helps us to grow the channel and helps us to know that you guys are wanting to see more content from us. You can also follow us on Twitter at Files Fantasy to join our little community over there. Definitely reach out in the comments below if you'd like to see us review something, or if you'd like me to cover a topic in fantasy or sci-fi that we haven't yet. All right, guys, thanks everybody, and we'll see you in the next video.